Hi everybody, back again. This is a sort of a special little episode because today, March 6th, is the 1 year anniversary of when I first posted, my first videos onto YouTube, onto the channel. Don't step on that. Mort says hi. So what I want to do is I just want to share a couple of pieces that I think might be of interest. Certainly they're of interest to me. They're pretty important. And I also am going to show one book of mine, not for ego, but just because. And that'll be it. So the first thing I want to say is thank you, everybody who's viewed these videos over the past year. And I hope, as I say, pretty much every time, I hope you get something out of it. I hope you find them valuable. And I'm really, really grateful that the people, drop by and see what's happening. So back in the early 80s, there was a big sale in Philadelphia, big auction. And a lot of really interesting stuff got sold. At the time, there was a bookstore called William H. Allen's, which is a wonderful, wonderful place. George Allen, the owner, bought quite a bit of stuff at the auction. And so shortly thereafter, I was down there, and my first wife and I, we ended up buying two pieces at, let's just say, extremely, extremely good prices. This is the first thing. This is one of the real joys of what little bit of a collection I have. This is 1/5 of the Dove's Bible, which is one of, if not the major bookmaking projects of the 20th century, and maybe beyond that. There was a broken set that George bought, and so I was able to get this, which is part 2, volume 2. And the nice thing about this is it has both Ecclesiastes and the Song of Solomon, which are, pretty cool. And this is the original binding, the original Dove's edition binding, limp vellum, calf, sewn on tapes. The sewing thread is green, and it's just it's a really nice binding. Not super supple, but again, there's enough give there to make things happy. And then, of course, this paper was made specially for the edition. I actually don't know the paper maker. I should have found that out. But lots of end sheets, always a good sign. And there's the title page. Now this is the second volume. The first volume is the famous one with the Genesis opening page. But there's nothing wrong with this either. And it's a kind of an amazing example of what you can do with one size of one face, if it's good. And then we do have a few of the printed editions. But this is just, and these were printed on hand presses. So there's a ton of work in here. Probably they were probably printed folios. They printed two pages at a time. But the proportions of the margins to the text block, to the page, the leading, there's just enough. It's not too wide, not too narrow. The type itself is just gorgeous, and it just gives an astonishingly even texture to the page. And of course, it was printed damp, so there's a nice type bite, not excessive, but Kings, Chronicles, and it just goes on and on and on. Job. It would be nice to have a complete one, but just to have this little piece of such an incredible piece of the art of printing and binding is really, really wonderful. And of course, this gets, you know, whenever anybody comes here who's interested, you know, this guy gets dragged out. So let's pass on to Job. Oh, well, we got Psalms too, if you're interested in Psalms. Lots of little red initials. Okay, well, anyway. And it just keeps going. Proverbs. But if you ever have a chance to see one of these, or even, I don't think there are any facsimiles, but Ecclesiastes. It's just right. And right is always good. There we go. Printed by Cobden Sanderson and Emery Walker at the Doves Press. Divided and Standard. Compositors, pressman. They had 2 guys on the press. They had 3 compositors. I shudder to think how long this took. Finished October 15th, 1903. So, but it's just, you know, that to be able to handle something like this, it's just a huge, huge good thing. Signed. Okay, so there's that. It's a nice little snap when it opens. Cool. Okay, so along with this, I got one other book, which is not a Doves, but is instead another major th century artisan, Victor Hammer. This is one of his, this is actually his first broadside. How are we doing there? Okay. Sehr gut. Okay, and this was, you know, kind of surprisingly inexpensive, which made me very, very happy. Victor Hammer did everything. He was a painter, he was an engraver, he was a draftsman, he was an architect, he was a printer, and he was a letterer, and he designed and cut his own type, some of which you will recognize here because it's been stolen so many times and resold as what's known as American Unseal. But Hammer did the original designs, and they are stunning. And he was also a superb, again, a superb letterpress printer. You got a nice deep bite here. I don't know if you can see it. 2 colors. Really nice handmade paper. This is what it's all about. This just sings on the page, and even if you think the Unseal is hard to read, it just has such character. Interestingly enough, this is the Greek is not from Victor Hammer, but rather from Hermann Zapf, which is kind of a cool combination. And there were 100 printed. This is number 46. It's not signed, but hand numbered. And again, just to handle a piece of work like this is such a treat. And it's another reason why, you know, I think a lot of us love books as much as we do, because a painting is nice and you can look at it on the wall and get really close to it and you can see a lot of stuff, but you can interact on a much more personal level with a book, and that means a lot. So this is one of the, again, this is, like I say, a real treasure. I have a second Hammer piece which I scored a few years ago. It's an essay about walls, of all things, and there's some very Freudian stuff in there. Again, this is less elaborate than the broadside, but it's still And now you can see how the unseal looks in a mass. You know, probably it's set pretty close to solid, maybe 1-point lead. Fairly long lines, ragged right, but it's still, again, it has such a presence on the page that it's just, and of course he's printing on this really lovely rough handmade paper. Just black and red, don't need much else. Copy 17 out of 100. Again, you can't see so much, although you can get it on the back of the page here. The amount of type bite. I don't know how well you can see it on that colophon page, but this is just a real joy to handle and to read. Again, you know, doesn't have to be super fancy. It's nice when it is, but sometimes you just don't need to do a lot. Okay, one last thing. This is the first successful leather binding I did under instruction, and it's still, for me, it's got some flaws, but I'm kind of happy with it. So this is my old copy of I Ching. This is the Bridell style box that I learned from Fritz and Trudy. You can see this guy's been around the block. Excuse me. I've been sick. Okay. So here we go. This is, again, now, a lot of times for a box for leather binding, I do like to use suede on the inside of the box for the leather. Okay, so it's very straightforward. Tight back, 4 flat chords. We decided, or Trudy decided, to really keep this very straightforward, so there's not a lot of lining on this bind. You can still see the sewing, the sewing supports, and you can see them where they come over onto the boards. Nope, here, this way. Okay, headband, head cap, later. And then the trigrams were done each with a separate linoleum block put in when the leather was damp, but there's no heat here. You just put a piece of plastic down, put your block down, screw the press down, and leave it overnight, and it will darken, just like, not just like, but as if you were working with a warm tool. That's one of the little things that Fritz figured out at some point, or had passed on to him, and it's a real useful technique, especially if you're working, you're looking to do dark on a lighter background. The only thing I would change here, I should have letter spaced the type a little wider, and it's a little too, it was put in a little too warm. It's a little burned, but not too bad. And then the other thing that we didn't do, we didn't put leather joints in this. This is just Japanese paper joint. But again, not inappropriate for this book. You can see here how having a tight back does, to a degree, restrict the opening. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. And sometimes it just seems like the thing to do. The only other reason that I tend not to do tight backs is with time you are going to get, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, you're going to get acid migration from the leather into the spine folds. So if that's not an issue, tight backs are great. And it's certainly a lot less, there are quite a few less steps than with a hollow back. So, didn't decorate the edges on these guys, but the one nice thing is the board proportions are good. The squares are good. So, yeah, I'm still happy with it after almost 50 years, which is really hard to believe. Okay, so that's all I'm going to show you. Again, I hope you found it worthwhile. Thank you. I will be back. Still going to do a series of sewing videos when I get my act together. And if there's anything anybody would like to see, and you feel like, giving me a holler, drop a line onto the comments, or contact me, through my shop email. Feel free. I've really enjoyed doing these. I kind of get the impression that some people have gotten something out of them, so that's what we're looking to do. So in spite of everything that's going on, best of luck, keep working, and keep getting better, because that's all we can do. Alrighty, thanks a lot. Take care.